I thank you for having me. When I hear my bio reel kind of go through, and you can Google me and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all these different things, honestly, it's starting to sound like word vomit to me. Because it's so much of doing, and well, now I got one more thing to add to my LinkedIn profile, and this is another group I get to talk to, and this, and blah, 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 right? What I'm trying to focus more on, what I hope each of us as individuals can focus more on, is being, not doing, but being. And so what I've created is I've created 20 slides. The first slide I might spend 10 minutes on, the second slide I might spend 10 seconds on. I battle attention deficit hyperactive disorder at a very high level. I have bipolar, which I'll talk more about at the end, and I have OCD. So if you guys could clean up your tables while I finish the intro, that would make me feel better. But I'm going to share my mental health story. I'm going to share some stories I've learned as a business owner. I own Campus Cycle. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Campus Cycle. Okay, so half the room, so that's good and bad marketing, right? We're going to talk about marketing later on. And so I've done a lot of different things. Again, there's that word doing. But one of the things I'm trying to focus more is just on being. So I hope you laugh, I hope you cry, I hope you think, I hope you reflect, I hope you take notes, because you guys are supposed to take notes or something they said. So at least just scribble or write notes to the person next to you. So without further ado, let's jump in. Oh, and let's do this. After each slide, I'm going to say clap, and if you can just clap once, then that's going to remind me to hit the clicker. Otherwise, I'll forget to hit the clicker and I'll start talking about something else. Okay, clap. Really? I give you all these compliments and that's the best clap you got? Let's try this again. Clap. All right, here we go. First slide. So I always like to start presentations. This is my birth certificate. You can read it if you really want. But what I like to tell people is I'm no one special. I'm no different from you, and you are very different from me. And what each of you has is a gift, and that is a gift to be yourself. So while you can learn from other people, while you can study great books, while you can see what other nutritionists are doing, at the end of the day, you are you and no one can do you better. So I just want to remind you of that. I was born, in case you are wondering, on July 17th in Santa Monica, California. I still live in Iowa. I'm 34. So if you do the math, I came here in college. I've lived here for almost 17 years, half my life here in Iowa. And I like to tell my husband he's good looking and he makes good money, but he ain't that good looking and he doesn't make that much money for me to still be driving on Highway 35 with ice on the ground after growing up in California. But truly, when you think of this slide, I just want you to close your eyes for a second. And I want you just to think of 2 gifts that you bring to the world better than anyone else you know. So keep your eyes closed. I promise I'm not going to dump water on you, like I did my son to wake him up this morning so I could say goodbye. All right, I just want you to quietly think of what are 2 gifts that you give to the world that no one does better, because we live in this age of social media where everyone is trying to copy everybody else. But it's not about everybody else. Only you do you better than you know how to every single day. Go ahead and open your eyes. All right, if you have your notebooks out, I'd encourage you to write down those 2 words. What are the 2 things you do well? Does anyone want to share? Anyone want to share? This is the awkward part where the speaker loves when someone just shares just to share. No, not yet? Okay, we'll warm up. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I feel like I'm a really good sister.
Sister. That is a beautiful thing.
7 younger siblings.
Bless you. 7 younger siblings. What's your name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right, sister. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes, in the back.
I'm a good mom.
Yeah, good mom. What's your name?
Allison.
Allison. How many kids do you have?
2.
2. That is
I'm really
wonderful.
good now because they're both gone.
Yeah. I like that. All right, good. So, we talk so much, and one of the things I've done, I've trained 40,000 kids over the last 15 years in basketball. And one of the things that, as you'll hear me share my mental health story later, I truly believe God gave me the mental illness that he did because he also gave me mental toughness. And I think the 2 can be married. I think the 2 can actually coexist in the same room. And as I share my story later, but I think part of mental toughness and confidence and being a great leader in the fields that you are, it's also reminding yourself of your strengths, so don't forget to do that. All right, clap. Bum, 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 Hollywood. This is where I grew up. Actually, my house was under the 2nd L. You can't see it right now because my husband accidentally cropped the picture when he helped me build this. I just like to say this at the beginning of presentations. I'm an experiencer, I'm not an expert. The CEPU credentials, is that CEU credentials maybe? Yes, this makes sense? I don't have anything to offer, right? I'm just being honest. So what you'll hear from me over the next hour are things that are more related to my experience as a business owner, as a mom, as a wife, as someone who just wants to see a great difference and change in this world. But just know I'm not an expert. So when you come up at the end and ask questions on the mic, please don't ask me something about the correct nutrients that you're supposed to have in somebody in a 7th grade's lunch, right? I'm not an expert in this field by any means. I'm not an expert, really. I like to tell people at anything. I just like to experience a lot and share it with other people. Clap. Okay, foundation. So some people have Bible verses. Some people have their favorite stories. Some people have their favorite quote, and here is mine. Be the change you wish to see in the world. So I like to think, whether that's as small as a piece of trash that's laying on the ground, I like to pick it up. I like to think of it as far as writing a memoir right now on mental health to try and change the stigma so people don't see mental illness and they think, oh, depressed and deranged and violent. I want them to think happy, successful, and looking forward to a wonderful life. So when I think of this quote, be the change you wish to see in the world, this is what guides me every single day in the decisions I make, again, as a business owner, as a mom, as all those different things. So what I want you to do, we're gonna do a little group exercise here, is I want you to share at your table. We'll take about 2 minutes. Maybe you're the person who's like, yeah, I got that quote. I have my thing that I go to every single day. Maybe it's a Bible verse. Maybe it's a quote that a mentor gave you at one point. Maybe it's the best advice your parents ever gave you. But I know as a business owner, this is what I go to every single day, is trying to be the change I wish to see in the world. And I think of this every single day, multiple times. So I'll put 2 minutes on my clock. I want you guys just to share as a group. If you don't feel like sharing, don't share. If you feel like sharing, overshare, right? You guys look really nice, so I'm not worried about coaching you into being a nice human. Go ahead, you guys have 2 minutes. Share your favorite quote. What guides you? What's your principle? Let's take 20 seconds. Go ahead, let's start to wrap it up. If you're just walking in, there's some seats here at the front couple tables if you're just walking in. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Anybody feel deep inside of them? They're like, oh, I just got to share with the group, with the big group. Anyone want to share? Anyone want to share?
You are enough.
Ah, love it. What's your name? Hers. What's your name? Melissa. Beautiful. You are enough. So something you think about all the time. Awesome. It guides the decisions you make and the words that come out of your mouth. Very nice. Okay, good. Anyone else? Yes?
Be here now.
Be.
Be here now.
Love that. I need that plastered on my forehead and a mirror in front of me at all times. Be here now. Love that one. Any others? Sorry, what was your name? Rachel. Any others? Okay, good. It looks like you guys want to clap. Let's do it. Clap. Okay, so one word. So this is, raise your hand if you've heard of John Gordon. Has anyone heard of John Gordon? Oh, this makes me sad. I should be like a John Gordon, disciple's the wrong word. What would it be where I could get paid, where every time I said his name, retweeted him, or talked about his book, I could get a commission? Agent, marketing, right? I think John Gordon, so if you're one of those people that you're like, I just want to read more about leadership, I want to read more about impact, I want to read more about how I can inspire my employees, I would strongly encourage you to pick up John Gordon's book. My son, when he learns how to read, which we're still working on the word dad right now, but when he learns how to really read, The Energy Bus will be one of the very first books that he ever reads, and that was written by John Gordon. But John Gordon had this message, and you can see that's actually John Gordon with one of his newest books. It's called The Hard Hat, and it talks a lot about how in leadership, right, everyone talks about the good stuff. Everyone talks about things when it's going well, but the true sign of a leader is how do you perform when your team needs you most and when sort of that ship is sinking, and how do you just put your hard hat on every single day and show up for your team in every way possible. And he talked about 10 rules for the ride of your life. He was in Ames about 3 months after Campus Cycle opened. And through social media, we were able to get John Gordon to come visit our Campus Cycle location in Ames, which was really, really cool. And so I'm not pointing this out to show off. I'm pointing this out to think about your goals for 2020, whether that's personally, whether that's professionally, whether that's within your families, within your teams, within your organizations, within the volunteer groups you do, and coming up with one word. And this is what he talked a lot about in sort of recently over the last 12 months, is people who can come up with one word and have a singular focus to the things that they do. Their decisions are better, their leadership is more impactful, everything they do they can influence at a much higher level. So again, not to give you too many you guys are like, oh, this is all these gimmicky games and partner groups and this, that, whatever. But what I do want us to do is I want us to move a little bit this morning. And what I want you to do is I want you to find someone in this room you don't know. And I do this with all my athletes. I usually have a whistle. I usually am wearing a sports bra. And I usually am wearing, we'll talk about Lululemon pants later, but I'm usually wearing sneakers, and I usually make them do push-ups if they don't hustle. And Amy, when we set this up, Amy did not say you can't make the group do push-ups, so don't think I'm not crazy enough not to do some push-ups with y'all. But what we are going to do is I want you to find someone in this room you don't know, somebody you've never met, and what I want you to do is I want you just to think of if you could set up your 2020, in one way, what would be that one word that you would chase as much as possible, personally, professionally? For me, 2 years ago, it was impact. For me, right now in this moment, it is everything but impact. It's actually just the word joy. I want to selfishly chase the word joy for myself, not chase the word joy for every other person, whether that's the 1,500 people that come to Campus Cycle, all the athletes I train, even my kids, even my husband. I just want to chase joy for myself. So that's kind of my setting the tone for 2020. I'd like for you guys to do that, whether again it's personal, professional, doesn't matter to me. But I want you to think about one word of what could 2020 look like? And how would it look like? And it's just one word. If you want to explain that word to the other person, go ahead and do that. If you don't have a partner, you put your fist up in the air. And all the people with their fist up in the air, they go find someone else with another fist. You guys are smart enough, you can handle this. Yeah? We're gonna go 2 minutes on the clock again. Let's see if we can get this done. Go, find your word. What is your one word for 2020? jobs, right? And I think this is, I don't know about you guys, but how easy is it? Raise your hand if you would agree with this statement. It is so easy to get caught in the day-to-day, right? Of your life, of your job, of your marriage, of everything, that you kind of forget why you're here. You kind of forget the goals that you have for your life. You kind of forget that 10,000 view because you're so in the trenches just trying to respond to emails and get rid of your Facebook notifications because that somehow is important, right? You're trying and trying and trying and trying, and you kind of forget to step back. So I guess that's what I'm realizing as I'm speaking here is that's what I'm trying to help you guys do is step back and reevaluate how are you managing your life, whether it's your job, whether it's your family, whatever it may be. I heard some really, really great examples on this side, and again, not only are you guys good looking, but you're smart. I need to get out of this room as quickly as possible. But I think you guys are on the right track here. So let's keep rolling and go ahead and clap. Okay, so this is me with my big forehead, which like I had a bunch of teammates, like shame on them for not telling me you could actually have bangs before I turned 24 years old and I was already out of college. But yes, I did play for Iowa State. I heard someone mumble earlier when I walked in and they saw my last name on the program, they're like, damn, Bill Fennelly's wife is young. No, that was my father-in-law. And this is where it gets twisted. I played for him, I married his son, and I'm still here. So no, I love my father-in-law and had a great time playing here. But I think one of the things I thought just by putting this slide up was really drawing back from your experience, whether it's in college as an athlete, whether it's in college with the internships you had, whether it's in college the mentors you had. I know I don't draw on the fact that I played basketball at Hilton Coliseum in front of 10,000 people. I don't think about the games I won or the practices I got thrown out of, which was kind of messed up. I think back to the time management skills. I think back to the organizational opportunities. I think back to learning how to make an impact in other people's lives just because you could put a silly orange ball in an orange rim. And so I hope that whatever sort of field of study you had, whether it was athletic related, non-athletic related, in a band, in something, is that you always draw back on what did you learn from those experiences. So that's the only reason I put this one up here. And to prove to y'all that I used to have game. I don't anymore. All right, here we go, clap. Okay, so success. This is my business partner and I. Her name is Kelsey Bolte-Carver. She played at Iowa State as well. So she's my business partner. And I'll be honest, this slide was kind of my least favorite to put up here. Because this is the one where I'm supposed to tell you that I know all about business, and I won the Entrepreneur of the Year award in Ames, which must have just meant there were, thank you, which meant that there must not have been a ton of businesses that year. But in the truest form, this for me isn't, from a mental health standpoint, this is actually not healthy. When people tell me, you're doing such a great job, you won this award, you're Entrepreneur of the Year, and blah, 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 because then it takes my manic state and it puts it into overdrive, and it makes me step on the gas pedal, and I'll tell you more about the mental health side of things in a little bit. But I will say this, anytime that you have the opportunity to build something, to create something, regardless of the fact that you can win an award, you are doing something big. And what you guys are doing every single day, whether it's in nursing homes, whether it's in hospitals, whether it's in schools, what you are doing is a hell of a lot more important than me having some trophy that's sitting somewhere in my house that I have no idea where it is right now. All right, and I just wanted you guys to hear that success, I don't believe, is tied to the awards you have, the Twitter followers you have, or what you accomplished on your resume or your LinkedIn profile. I personally don't give a damn about any of that stuff. But I put this slide up here as a reminder that it's so much bigger than just some award. And I hope each of you truly recognizes that. I have my grandfather-in-law on one side of the state, Coach Fennelly's, I guess it'd be his father, is currently in the hospital, and my mother-in-law's father in Ruthven, on the complete opposite other end of the state, is also going in and out of nursing home dealing with chemo. And one of the things that they've talked a lot about is his diet. And one of the things that if somebody said to you, or somebody asked Billy and I, my husband, they said, God, what's the biggest thing that you and Billy need to improve on? Hands down, it would be that. So I hope that you guys recognize and realize the impact that you are having, whether you're collecting awards or posting new things on your LinkedIn accounts. The work that you guys do is very meaningful. So do 2 claps for that one. You guys are doing awesome stuff. This one. So you guys are like, why is George Niang and Naz Long on this screen? Well, here's why. the word opportunistic comes to mind. So one of the things I was asked to talk a lot about, or talk about in this talk, was being a business owner and being opportunistic. And so I wanted to follow up the campus cycle slide with this one. I don't enjoy riding bikes. Right? You guys are like, what in the hell? I don't focus on the what of my business. My goal in Campus Cycle was not to have like the best beat-driven indoor spin studio ever created. My goal was to make an impact and was to change lives, and it's still that goal almost 3 years into this. And so as you're thinking about the things that you do and your what, the what is important, making sure people eat the proper amounts of nutrients, making sure that X, Y, Z happen. Again, I can't give examples because I don't know a damn about your profession on the what side, right? But I do know a lot about just people, and you win with people. And so what I did about 5 years ago is I partnered with Naz Long and George Niang, who are two of the greatest Iowa State players to play of all time. I had lunch with both of them, and I said, hey, let me run your basketball camp. And that was it. And since then, I've now done 9 total camps with the guys. George and I do a golf outing together that raises, we've raised over $120,000 for 3 different charities and aims. And so my point in saying this slide is be opportunistic and create things, because no one is going to save you, right? No one's going to come in and say, I will market your business for you. Nobody's going to come in and say, well, I will teach you how to work with this patient better. Those things don't happen, right? So I think it's just this idea of being opportunistic. I've been running camps since 2005, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But I focus on the who. I focus on the kids I train. I focus on the staff. I focus on the people that I get the chance to work with. Any Iowa fans in here? I'm sorry. Okay, no one clap after that one. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So here's what I wanted to talk a touch about today. Excuse me, I gotta grab this. Campus Cycle. So this is Holly Rose. So let me tell you guys a quick story. This is one of my favorite stories to tell. Campus Cycle opened January 16th, 2017. And about 2 years prior, I did a triathlon with my best friend, Kelsey. Kelsey and I are doing this triathlon. We trained all of 5 days leading up to it. I had just had a kid exactly 3 months beforehand. So Will was born on May 10th. The triathlon was on August 10th. So we're doing this triathlon, and we start going on the swim, and the swim was the one part that I was like, I don't want to be touched, I don't want to be like, but boom, we got done with the swim. All right, we got out of the water alive. So when we jump on our bikes, $2,000 Trek bikes, that we'd use 5 times, so this is now our 6th time. After you hear this story, you'll also understand there hasn't been a 7th time. We jump on these nice Trek bikes, and we start pedaling. Like a mile into it, Kelsey's like, all right, let's go, Lynn, let's hit into another gear. And if you know Kelsey and I, you know that I am the gas pedal and she is the brake. So the fact that she even wanted to hit the gas pedal was like wild. And I'm like, oh, yeah, all right, let's go. We can go a little faster. So I try to pedal, I try to pedal, I try to pedal. But as we're pedaling, I'm not going anywhere. And all of a sudden, if you've ever done a triathlon, the numbers start to fly by you, right? People with their ages on the back of their calves. At first it's like 35, and I'm like, I just turned 30, I don't feel bad about that. And then it's like 46. I'm like, all right, 62, I'm like, Kels, what the hell? She's like, no, Lyndsey, come on, you gotta get going. And this is like probably the first time in our friendship relationship that again, she's like, let's go, and I'm like, I can't. Finally, a 72-year-old passes us. And it's no shame to anyone who is that age, I respect you greatly, but what that did to my ego, I cannot tell you, completely deflating. Somehow we still finish, we get to the run part, we finish the run, we end up finishing the race, a little bit behind schedule, obviously. We get in the car and we're looking at pictures, and we're scrolling through pictures, and I think it was Kelsey goes, you had a flat tire. So I spent the time from Ogden to Ames, which is about 27 minutes, saying more bad words than I've ever said in my entire life. If you've ever rode 11 miles on a flat tire, I wish that never happens to you again, right? So we get to this hot tub. Our husbands go get us Old Chicago pizza. I'm like, I just need food and I need wine. Give me food and give me wine. Give me as much of it as you can. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to my husband. I don't want to see my newborn. I don't want, just give me this. And it's just Kelsey and I sit in this hot tub. And I look at her the straightest I've ever looked at her, and I said this: I swear to you, I will never get on a bike again. A year and a half later, we opened Campus Cycle. We have 42 spin bikes, 21 in our Ames location, 21 in our Ankeny location. This is my message to you. Don't ever say no to anything, most importantly, yourself. Don't ever say that word no, because you can do it. You can create a business. I don't know a damn thing about beat-driven indoor spin. We got 1,500 people that come. I don't know anything about running a business. I have never owned a brick and mortar business before in my life. Insurance, rent, phone bills. I mean, I've never done it before. And we did it because here is my next suggestion. Work your butt off in-house, everything you can, and then you outsource the things you really don't know and you don't feel comfortable. So right now, I've never been a numbers person. Never have, couldn't tell you what 2 + 2 is. My head says 5, my heart says 4. Always go with your heart, right? And no clue. So similar with Campus Cycle, I don't know if we're making money or losing money. I know that we pay our bills, and that's all I really cared about in the whole thing. So as you're thinking about whether it's growing your business or contributing more, maybe you're sitting here and you're like, this has nothing to do with your nutrition and dietetics. You just needed somebody to remind you that life is too short to ever put a label on anything, especially that word no. Clap. Yeah. Okay. So if you do own a business, I'll give you some of our secret sauce. I don't think it's remarkably special, but I think it's worth sharing. I believe that culture is everything. We have 27 staff members that work between our 2 locations, and they understand these 3 things, and they do these 3 things well. If you own a business, if you want to own a business, if you want to come work for me, if you want to buy my business, everything's for sale, right? At all times. These are the 3 things we go off of. Number 1 is care. We care about our employees, we care about each other, we care about most especially our riders. We care about our facility, we care about everything that goes to that word care. I told people this when they first started working for us. Nobody in Iowa did beat-driven spin. It's a dark room, it burns 400 to 700 calories a workout in 45 minutes. Nobody in Iowa had ever seen it. So I'm now trying to convince people to teach it. And I looked at every single one of these people and I said this: as long as you are a caring person, I can teach you the rest. The what can be learned, but the who you are in your heart as a leader, that can't change. And if you operate from that place of servant, caring leadership, I think good things happen. Number 2, consistency. I'll be honest, I almost emailed Amy last night. I'm hacking up a lung. I was at Mayo Clinic all day yesterday with my husband who has a congenital heart defect, and he had his routine pacemaker check. I got to talk at North Polk in about an hour and a half. I have 2 big meetings. I have to run back to, it's kind of one of those days, right, as a mompreneur, as I like to call it. And I'm looking at my husband, and he's like, well, what do you do as a speaker if you can't show up? Because I literally was coughing about 5 times as much about 12 hours ago. And I said, Billy, I don't have a choice, right? I have to be here. And that's the mindset I've always had in anything I've done, is I have to be there. And you'll hear late in a little bit as to why that was actually pretty dangerous for me. But I think it's that word of, if you want to build something great, you have to show up every single day. Whether you feel like it or whether you don't. And it's like I love telling the young people I work with, everybody shows up on a Friday at school. Friday at school, kids are giving each other high fives, chest bumps, fist taps, butt slaps, hopefully not cross-gender, right? But Monday morning, oh, I don't want to go to school today. You don't have a choice if you want to be great. Greatness is achieved through every day in every way, bringing it, whether you feel like it or not. And then third, and to me probably maybe most important, is that word community. We've tried to build a community at Campus Cycle that people can lean on each other, that people can look to each other for support in good times and in bad. All right, clap. Time. I get asked this sometimes when I go do talks. They're like, tell us like what's your go-to thing? It's this word. This is the most non-renewable resource in the world. We don't get it back. So being insanely intentional about time is just something I found that I think has helped me do the things that I enjoy doing. Clap. Okay, how? Organized, right? I'm gonna be honest, you guys seem like a lot of type A people. And I'm just judging by the notes I've seen And again, the way y'all look, not that type B people don't look good, because my husband's type B and he's a damn good looking dude. So I'm not going to touch on this one very much. But I will say, in all the different hats, or as I like to say it now, and all the different shoes that I wear, 1 minute I'm on the court, the next hour I've got to be at campus cycle, the next hour I'm just being a mom, the next hour, which just being a mom, right? That's the biggest one. Then the next hour trying to be a wife, which means ordering Texas Roadhouse. Sorry. It's just, I know their salads aren't awful. I'm not supposed to admit that to you guys. I told you that's where I need to grow. But just being organized, right? It's going to allow you to do things that propel your business and your life in a further direction. Mentors, and I think this is really important. I'm going to talk about this actually in the opposite way. Usually when I do some of these presentations, I'm talking to young people and I'm telling them, success leaves a footprint, and make sure you look after, or make sure you find someone who does life the way you want to do it, and go copy them and emulate them and go steal from them and borrow from them and be them. I encourage this group to actually do the opposite. Spend the most amount of time you can with this table and with this table, because they got the green tags, right? So think about, what, and you, right there, with your green tag. Sorry, I missed you guys, right? I think one of the greatest gifts we can give to other people is free advice, a high five, a smile, and just your time. I like to tell people that I have a spiritual mentor, I have a financial mentor, I have a relationship mentor, I have a therapist, which she does it all. I have a variety of different mentors with a variety of different hats I wear, and big decisions don't get made without them. It saves time and it saves money, and if you could help one of the people with these green tags on today, I think that would be a really, really cool thing. 2 claps on that one. Okay, books. This is, I think, also especially important. I was can I say the word ass? Did. Okay, perfect. I speak to a lot of schools, and I'm going, like I said, to North Polk here in a second, so I can't say that, I don't think, at North Polk. But I used to be an ass, right? And Mary Ellen, hi Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen knows me from a long time ago, and I hope I said please, and I hope I said thank you at the meals. Mary Ellen used to serve all of us at pregame meals after Iowa State, or before Iowa State games. And I want to say that I was a pretty good person in college, but it pales in comparison to the person that I try to be. I was a jackass when I got out of college. Where can I get the best job? Where can I make the most money? Where can I take this I played at Iowa State thing and propel my life in this big direction? And how can I buy a new car? And how can Billy and I live in this big house? And then I read this book, and it snapped, and it changed just like that. And it's called The Go-Giver. And rather than being a go-getter, which is I was like, how can I get? Bob Berg and John David Mann, who are 2 of the best authors I've ever seen, created this book. It tells a story that talks about 5 principles, that if you live according to these principles, your life will be infinitely better, and it has nothing to do with you. And so as I think about this, and I think about this group today, I just wanted to share that. The Go-Giver. Okay, clap. Okay, community. This is another one that makes me want to word vomit. But I thought, in the last couple of years, what are some things? Here's my favorite quote to share, and I shared this a couple months ago on social media. If you have the money, give it. If you have the time, give it. If you are blessed with both, give both. One of the reasons that Campus Cycle took off the way it did, one of the reasons that I think my basketball training still attracts new people every single week, one of the reasons I think we're community people. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my own parents, we're very big into you give back. I watched 2 shows, This Is Us and A Million Little Things. Praise hands, yeah. Can't wait to see what Catherine and Eddie do here. But other than that, I really don't do a ton else. Everything I try to do is to give back to the community. I'm not saying that's necessarily healthy, my therapist hates it. But what I tried to do with Campus Cycle was create this place that people knew they could always go to for a variety of different things, not just for their physical health and mental health. So I put on there just some things that I've been involved in. I think one of the coolest things, again, when I think of how Campus Cycle took off, if you looked at every volunteer board in Ames, let's say there's 25 to 30 of them, Kelsey and I were on about every single one of them when Campus Cycle opened. So if you're thinking about opening a business, I always say start by giving before you try to get, because it's a great way to influence, and more importantly, it's a great way just to meet a lot of people in the towns and cities that you're from. All right, clap. Okay, present versus presence. I put this up here for me. I like to tell my family around Christmas time that actually the greatest gift that they can get is not my presents, but it's my presence, right, with an S. I think this is really important in the fields that we're in. I know I have a rule when it comes to my basketball gym that I don't walk in the gym ever looking at my phone. I don't know if that's true for you with patients. I don't know if that's true for you as staff workers, right? We all act like we're so busy. Social media doesn't make us busy. It just makes us doing stuff, right? There's a big difference. And so as you think of just that presence, like looking, just simple things, right? We were all taught it growing up. You look people in the eye, you smile at people. The gift that you have to offer is simply you. Every single time you work with someone, people don't go to nutritionists and dietetics if they got their figured out, right? They need your help. So every little thing that you do, your body language, your smiles, your hugs, your high fives, maybe that's your new thing. You're like, I'm just gonna high five my people now every time they walk out of the room. And you're like, well, that's kind of corny, or that's kind of, no, I think that'd be really cool. So I just wanted to mention that I think presence. My dad was an obstetrician gynecologist out of California. And one of the things that he was remarkable at was patient care. And I think I get a lot of that, you just take care of other people from him. Okay, clap. Okay, dressing up, another favorite story. Oh. The worst part of me agreeing to any kind of speaker deal is always the wardrobe part. Because I'm like, I can't wear my Lululemon sweatshirt with my Lululemon pants. They don't make shoes, but I probably would buy Lululemon shoes. But this is my story. About 10 years ago, one of the gals in my wedding, a very good friend of mine, she looked at me and she said, Lyndsey, at some point you're gonna have to get a real job and wear real, clothes one day. I saw her 10 days ago and I said, watch me. I'm still doing it. So it's my point to just say that again, not putting yourself in a box, but Lululemon can provide great attire as well. I'm not like sponsored by them or ambassador or anything. I just had to share this because I think it's a funny story that I don't have career goals, I have life goals. And a career goal, I got offered a job about 2 months ago that I almost took, but it had nothing to do with the life that I want for myself and my family. And so just remembering that, regardless of the cool clothes I would have got to wear had I taken it. Okay, social media. Here's the deal, it's free. So I know that it adds one more layer to your business. It adds one more layer to the things that maybe you're already doing. I really shouldn't say this. Is this being recorded? Where's this gonna go, Josh?
Social media.
All right, how about this? I'll wink at you and tell you afterwards how much money Campus Cycle has ever spent on marketing. All right, I'll let you try and figure out what that wink stands for. All right, social media. When I think of the basketball training stuff I do, social media. Some of you guys, maybe you work for hospitals or you work for organizations if that's not your thing. But I just want to mention this to the business owners. I would highly, highly encourage you to tap into some form of social media as a way to showcase and brand yourself as a business because it's free. Okay, this is where I cry, right? So this is my family. Billy's the good-looking one. Will is our 5-year-old, and Callie's there in the middle, and she's something special. They're all special, right? But she's like my little light. I've been diagnosed with a couple different forms of mental health illness. I shared in a joking manner the ADHD. I shared in a joking manner the OCD and the tables, and just so you know, it actually really does bother me up here. But I've been working on it, it's not my problem, it's yours. But in 2013, I was diagnosed bipolar. And mind you, in 2013, I just had a miscarriage. So 6 months after my miscarriage, almost to the day, I was hospitalized. And what I had done for the 4 days leading up, I know I'm gonna say this, you guys are gonna be like, we could have warned you, but I consumed Spark. I know. Like the Gushers thing was funny, this isn't funny, right? So I consumed Spark for 4 straight days. I had this business plan in my head that if I could just not eat, not sleep, not drink, and only use Spark for 4 days, I will construct the greatest business plan in the history of the world. Right? That's how my brain was going. So I'm what's called extremely manic. So I go, and I've got this business plan and it's kind of working, and then I just don't start making sense. And I'm not sleeping, and I'm not drinking, and I'm not eating, and all I'm still consuming is Spark. And my family, they took me to the hospital. I go to the hospital, and I'm in there for 15 days. The first 10 days, I don't remember a single thing. I'm on the 6th floor of the Mary Greeley Medical Center. First 10 days, I don't remember. I do remember coming out on February 14th. It was Valentine's Day, right in the middle of the season. So in a weird way, kind of a good thing for me, because my husband, while he visited me every day, he was also pretty busy at that time. So we get in the car and we're driving home, and a couple days pass, and I'm like, man, I hear about like celebrities back in LA, right? This is why I told you I'm from Los Angeles. You hear about these celebrities that they check themselves into hospitals, right, for a couple weeks. I'm like, I just needed like a break. I'd had the miscarriage I hadn't properly dealt with. I had a husband who was really busy this time of year, and I had this business plan that I just couldn't wait to get off the ground. So I'm thinking that's just all it was. So we go to our very first outpatient doctor visit 3 days after. I look the doctor in the face and I tell him this. I say, I'm not going to take medication, I'm not going to therapy, and I don't have bipolar. Good luck. And I turned around, I walked out the door, I never saw the doctor again. Weird story, like 2 years ago I actually toured his home in Ames, and I didn't know it was his home, but that's another talk. That's my ADD, right? So I get out of the hospital, I tell him that at that visit. I actually Googled the word bipolar, and I couldn't find anyone else who had it. So I was like, this is ridiculous. I look Billy in the eyes, I'm like, I'll never do Spark again. I promise to manage my schedule better. I won't work out to the extreme that I do. You know, I'm gonna take care of myself. And he's like, oh, perfect. All right, good. You know, we got this handled, we got it under control. So I have my son, Will. We open Campus Cycle, have my daughter, Callie. We open another Campus Cycle, and things start to pick up again, and pick up again. And I'm not sleeping, and I'm not eating, and I'm actually in Malibu with Kelsey, my best friend. We probably drank a little bit too much vodka, but who hasn't at some point in their life, right? And so we're doing our thing and having a great time, and it was kind of a pseudo business trip, but it was the first time I was really by myself without any obligations. And I'm back in California where nobody knew who I was. Whereas here in Iowa, I've got to wear this hat and this label that I'm Lyndsey Fennelly, I'm this and that and this and that. So it's free for the first time really in a long time. End up doing something that I'm not very proud of. I smoked some marijuana, and that triggered me. And I don't remember most of the next 32 days. During the ensuing couple days, I was told that they put me on an airplane the next day. So try flying with a very manic individual. So I get very, very manic. I can't stop moving. I can't stop talking. I can't stop thinking. My brain is on complete overdrive. And so I can't stop moving. I'm just racing. Apparently they got me home. They're like, well, let's just put her around the kids, and maybe being around the kids will kind of calm her down a little bit. But that didn't, because then I felt bad about doing this, or I felt bad about not being this in this area of my kids, and I felt bad about this. So as high as I was in Malibu, then that's as low as now I get when I'm back in Ames. So finally my husband's like, you know, we gotta take you to the hospital again. So I bring me to the hospital on a Thursday after we got back on a late Monday night. Took me to the hospital, I don't remember the first about 11 to 12 days again. And they're really struggling this time, because they're like, we don't know if she's gonna get out of this one. We don't know if this episode is gonna be the one that puts her in a home for the rest of her life. Until Billy, knowing me as well as he does, brought in a magazine. And he brought in a People magazine, which you guys laugh because you're from Cedar Rapids and you had the Courier Times, or you're here from Des Moines, so you had the Des Moines Register. I grew up in Los Angeles, and guess what I read every single week? People magazine. Because those people lived by me, and those people you kind of run into or you'd see, and I don't know if Billy was that smart. I don't want to give him that much credit, but I don't know if that's what he knew, but he knew that I had always looked up to people. He knew that the first time when I Googled the word bipolar, nobody else had it. Nobody else talked about it, right? Mental health, part of why I love showing pictures of my family is I am sick, and that's what sickness looks like. But that's also what happiness and enjoyment and a healthy family also looks like too, and you can have both. And so part of why I love telling my story, especially to people who are working with those in the health field, is it's okay to not be okay. I'm okay telling the world now, I'm writing a book, I'm okay telling the world that I take medication and I go to therapy. Hell, I walk around Ames for therapy because I'm so manic I want to sit in my tiny, small-ass room that my therapist has. All right? I have no problem when people, my therapist is always like, who'd you wave at that time? Who'd you wave at that time? Who'd you wave? And there's no shame in my game because it was something I was born with. It was something I can't control. And so when we got out of the hospital, All right, I should finish telling you guys about you guys are like, who's the magazine? Go back to the magazine. Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey has bipolar 2. And on the cover of the People magazine in April of 2018, if you go back and look, it was a cover of Mariah Carey saying, I have bipolar and this is how I deal with it. And so I remember even scrolling through it and I'm like, God damn, if she can sing Hero the way she does, yeah, I think I can do this. And I wasn't smiling at the time because I was so medicated that I was like that. We called it Flat Stanley, right? So I'm scrolling through and then they brought, and this is where the part I really can't talk that much about or I'll be a blubbering mess, but they brought Callie up and Callie was about 6 months old, so it's a very, very hormonal disease, right? It was right after I'd had her. And then they brought my son Will up and he wrote me a note and he said, Mom, you're beautiful, you're pretty, I miss you, I love you. And I didn't think those things of myself, but I had to have a 3-year-old remind me that. And it was almost his 4th birthday when I got out. So I got out, and really the last year and a half has been phenomenal. I get to be present with my children. So many people look at, again, mental illness as being this bad thing. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, next to my kids and my husband. I never knew what it was like to have a conversation with someone and actually listen to them. Typically in a room like this, when you guys were all kind of like milling around earlier, if I don't take the medication last night, I can hear almost every single conversation going on because that's how much on overdrive my brain is. So it's great to just be present. And that's what I talked about in the beginning, just being versus doing. But I guess this is my encouragement for you to tell the people that you work with that you know are dealing with mental health stuff, it's okay. And not everybody has to stand on a stage and write a book and tell the world through social media that they're dealing with this every day. But I'm sure damn glad God picked me because I got no problem doing it. So this is my why, right? Every single, oh no. Josh. So this is my why for dealing with this. Go ahead and clap. This is also my reality. This is my kids 3 Sunday nights ago. My husband and I are sitting upstairs, and I'm like, oh, honey, I think we've made it. Will and Callie are downstairs playing with each other. They're having a great time. They took every marker out, uncapped every single one, ruining every single one of them, and drew all over each other, on each other's butts. Like, Will took off Callie's diaper and drew on the back of her left ass cheek. So, I also just want to say, sometimes people will be like, God, Lyndsey, you got your stuff together. You're going to, you're taking medication, you're going to therapy, and you're speaking, and you're writing a book. Like, sure. This stuff happens to me too. So I just thought I'd share that. All right, that's my reality. Clap. Okay, and then the last thing, and I'll open it up. We have a couple minutes for questions here at the end. This is my all-time favorite quote, besides the thought by Gandhi. This is from John Wooden, who's the famed UCLA basketball coach, and he says, "Make each day your masterpiece. Life is now, life is not later on." I put my email at the bottom. If you have follow-up questions, if you have thoughts, comments, concerns, questions, issues, you were deeply, deeply moved by the fact that I said the word donkey a few times, or you were bothered by it, you can even share that with me. But what I like to tell people is, look, you only get one. It's kind of funny, the timing of this. I was driving to Mayo to and from yesterday with Billy, my husband. And this is the point I make in the book, is that I think it's a really powerful thing that somebody with kind of a special heart and somebody with a special head got joined. Like, for some reason, thank God for insurance, but thank God for each other. As we're leaving Mayo Clinic, I'm thinking about the great doctor report that we got and the great visit that he had, but I'm also just reminded of this quote all the time. You only get one November 12, 2019, your entire life. And that mindset was given to me when I met Billy when we were 17 years old. And he said, look, I've had open heart surgery when I was 8 months old. We're not going to sweat the small stuff. We're going to make each day count. We're just not going to waste time on the mundane, silly, stupid little things that most teenagers waste. And I was like, damn, you're hot. So, with that being said, are there any questions? No questions. You're supposed to go to the middle. You're supposed to go there with the microphone. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Do you think... I'll just talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you think your heightened state of
Great question. So this is something I'm working through in the book and trying to figure out. The question is, do I think my heightened state made me a better basketball player? Without question. I think of all the different things, especially being in the point guard role, right, where you're almost like the quarterback of the team. And I had to focus on what I was doing. I had to focus on my vision. I had to focus on not getting the ball taken away from me. I had to make sure all my teammates were in the right spot. I had to listen to the coaches. I had to pay attention to the officials. I had to see what the other two, like, for sure. So I'm really glad I didn't, not find out about this, but I think everything happens for a reason, and the timing that it all happened ended up being really good. And here's the other thing I encourage you guys to talk to your patients about that are dealing with mental health is I didn't lose anything. I gained a ton. And that was my greatest fear in the first time was, well, would the medication make me dry? Could I still be creative? Most of Campus Cycle was built from emails at 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. I'd always worried, would I lose that creativity and that sort of drive I had by essentially admitting to the condition. And so yeah, thought I'd share that. Thank you. Good question. Any other questions? Yes?
What are best techniques to educate someone, or you're counseling someone to help who has all these things going in their head?
Yeah, great question. So how do you help counsel someone with all these things going in your head? It's kind of like if somebody had diabetes, you'd give them medication, right? Insulin, correct? If somebody has mental illness, I need pills to regulate my chemical imbalance. So I think for me to finally recognize that it is I wanted my brain to work the way my husband's did, where we literally sit on the couch and I'm like, oh my God, what are you thinking about? And he's like, nothing. You know? So, he's a complete opposite. He's very present, he's very in the moment. I'm not. I'm like, what's our 6-year plan look like? What's our 12-month plan look like? What's our next 6-minute plan look like? You know, so I think just telling people that, you know, get professional help, whether that's medication, whether that's therapy. You know, the one part about my condition that's a little unique is I'm way more manic than I am ever depressive. The only times I've really felt the depressive side has been after a significant episode that leads to hospitalization, whereas most people are the opposite. Most people are more depressive than they are manic. So I just think the more we can get people to talk about it, the more we can get people to say, hey, look, it's okay. Like there's no, to me, that was the biggest thing and why in 2013 I was just so far away from admitting it because nobody else was talking about it. The only time you heard about mental health was a deranged shooter went into a building and tried to kill someone else. I'm not violent, I'm not aggressive, I'm not anything that they had labeled, right? That's that word label that I go back to, like, that I just think it's unfair. You know, I'm battling, I probably shouldn't say this with a microphone, but oops, we're all dying, right? When you really think of it. So my battle is just a little different from somebody else's battle who's dealing with cancer. But cancer is talked about and supported and the pink games and the, you know, and that's great. Like there's so many different things that everyone can be supporting. But I think it starts with supporting the individual who's just clearly struggling inside to regulate their brainwaves. Yeah, good question. Any other? Yes, ma'am.
As you look back on that miscarriage, is there anything different that you would have done? I mean, what could you think of that would help somebody? Because I deal like with clients, and,
Yep.
you know, they come in, they're strangers to me, and I've had miscarriages too, but
Sure.
I don't have the answer because there aren't good books about it.
Yep.
You know, there's not a lot of information to help people. So what's the best thing that we can do?
Yeah, so my miscarriage was on August 28th. On August 29th, it was another trip to Mayo Clinic. We only go there once or twice a year, but we had to drive to Mayo Clinic the next day. The way I was conditioned as a student athlete is you go, 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 you deal with this hurdle, you get over it, and then you move on. So I literally tried to cry as much as possible from Ames to Rochester, Minnesota. I played the song Mercy by Dave Matthews about 100 times. And I was like, as soon as I get to Mayo, now it's time for me to be the wife. And even though I'm literally bleeding all over still, I need to be there for my husband who's having his pacemaker replaced. Looking back, I didn't properly deal with it. I wish I would have gone to therapy. My dad, who's an OBGYN, encouraged me to, but who listens to their parents, right? So I think formal therapy is a strongly, strongly encouraged method, because it was, it was a loss. And it wasn't until my second hospitalization that everyone realized, like, wow, she still is hanging on to that from 6 years ago.
But finding good therapy is a challenge,
Yeah.
especially in rural Iowa.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
my support system as it relates to my family visited me every day. That's the one part of my story that I don't probably talk enough about, but has been such an integral part of my recovery is everyone on my team, whether it's my therapist, my psychiatrist, they're all like on board and there for me. So I hope that's more available to people as more people recognize it's just a simple need that we have, again, just like diabetes or somebody breaks their leg. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I had a couple of questions. I don't know if this is on or not. But you said earlier that with the award that you got,
Yeah.
and people giving you praise for that,
Yeah.
truly ended up being not encouraging.
Yeah.
So what would be something that would be encouraging to you, but not to set you into a manic?
The good thing is, so sleep. So I didn't know what sleep was. Like and again, I go back to so much of it was, Puff Daddy. He had some song back in the 90s. It was like, if you if you work from 9 to 5 and you sleep all day long or whatever, you're not gonna be successful. So now that I sleep, it's kind of like my armor. And then if I go much longer, if I go 1 or 2 nights without a good sleep, like everybody's on high alert. So like literally my husband will be like, you're taking double dose. And I even feel it, right? So I'll probably dose up today because I will have a big day. But that's kind of as long as I sleep, I don't go to those unhealthy places of like, where I hear something and then I'm like, well, wait, this person thought I was good at something? Well, shoot, then I better go, build 10 houses for as many people in Iowa as I can right now. Like, that's literally how my brain used to work was, if somebody told me I was good at something, I would pursue it to the umpteenth degree. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I was also kind of wondering if you found like a calendar app or how to balance all of your schedules.
Yeah. So I just use the Gmail app. I think I put it up there, the picture of it, but I just am very intentional. I have Billy's calendar on there as well. So when we have to schedule meetings or volunteer gigs or who's picking who up from school, the app usually kind of tells us. So yeah, thank you. We have time for one last question. Or we just have time to high-five each other and, oh yeah, in the back.
This isn't a question, but I'd love you to be my neighbor.
Well, good and there. I appreciate that. I got chills. The last thing I'll say is, and I know I met a gal from Chicago area earlier, but Iowa's a really, really cool place. We got back from Mayo Clinic. Our neighbors did not know that we were gone. We got back in the first snow of the year and our neighbors had shoveled our driveway. So you know what? I wish I was your neighbor too. All right, thank you guys. Have a great conference.